Hey, what is going on, crypto people? Listen, those who would sacrifice their country for personal profits is running rampant and has been running rampant, not just in this country, but really knits down into the digital asset space without question. Joseph Lubin, Vitalik Buterin, this is without question. Sacrifice their country for personal profits. Joseph Lubin, obviously American. I believe Vitalik is citizenship comes from Canada. Now we learned that Sam Bankman-Fried has done and did do the very same thing. Look, there are citizens of nations and there are government of nations. I would argue that the governments of nations are the ones who war with one another, and they send out the citizens to enact that war. So government officials in this country, they make a personal decision, like Bill Hinman and Jay Clayton, they make a personal decision to sacrifice their country for personal profit, like the Alibaba, right? That whole Alibaba deal. And then you got the enemy's government officials who rationalize that their personal profit. Just to be honest, they don't have the same choices as we do in the US, right? Their only choice is to fall in line or be beheaded, to be taken out. Let's just face it. And so I'm sure they think, well, might as well get some money. It's horrible. But in the US, where you have this choice and you still do it, like Sam Bankman-Fried did, where you have this choice and on the other end of that choice is not a beheading, is not being taken out. Right? There's a big difference. There is a big difference. Vitalik Buterin, I believe his citizenship is in Canada. He's not hamstrung by choices like the enemy. He decided personally to go to China and do some not great things. And I'm going to share it with you. It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. It's all coming out, and it's brutal. Truth Labs is on it. I'm going to share a very interesting post from Truth Labs exposing this whole CCP tied to Ethereum. And again, my heart goes out to investors, retail investors. My heart, not necessarily the VCs. Retail investor, my heart goes out to devs and developers who get tied up. Unfortunately, by default, they get tied up in this nastiness that is sacrificing your country for personal profits. It is brutal. Listen, we're going to get into the market because the market is doing what the market does. We'll go over the numbers. And you're going to have to stay to the end to get this whole thing from the CCP and Ethereum, Sam Bankman-Fried and CCP. It's nastiness, guys. It's nastiness. All right, guys. So listen, this wraps up your This is your XRP Ripple daily news in around 0 to 10 minutes. Let's get into it. Listen, the market again is doing what the market freaking does. According to CoinGecko, the total cryptocurrency market cap is at 1.08 trillion. That being down from an all-time high of over 3 trillion. Over 3 trillion. The Bitcoin dominance is slowly creeping up, but it's doing it slowly. 48.2% is the Bitcoin dominance. And until it gets to 60 or 65%, there is no wind moon. Sorry to tell you. Bitcoin is trading at $26,695. Again, Ethereum is trading at $1,543. Again, and XRP is trading at 47 cents. 47 cents. I'm probably going to get some more today. 47 cents. Oh, Patreon's coming up. In a matter of hours, it'll be live. Just to let you know, Generational Wealth Wednesday Mastermind coming up in a matter of hours. Can't wait to share with you guys. Really looking forward to that hangout. For sure. Look, the market is just doing what it does, fam. Sideways movement is brutal in these streets. Sideways movement. What the world? Let's see. Let's go here. This listen. Oh my gosh. This is so sad. This is so sad. And how disgusting is this whole Sam Bankman-Fried thing happening under Gary Gensler's watch? I still ask you, I still think it's the $164 trillion question. How does Sam Bankman-Fried get access to Congress the way that he did? I personally believe that this is part of the Operation Choke Point thing, and they just thought to themselves, we'll be able to blame it on crypto. Personal belief, I have no evidence of it, but I don't put anything past the Alphabet Group. I don't put anything past them. All right, so Mr. Huber put this out. 100 million in bribes for all Chinese government officials. That's only 6.6 times the amount of Director Hinman received, 15 million financial incentive. There's a guy here, it's called the Intercept Press. He's at the Sam Bankman-Fried courthouse. He's reporting on this trial, which is just brutal. I'm still, who thought Sam Bankman-Fried was going to be able to pull us off? Like, I mean, the moves here by Sam is just as dumb as ever. And this guy was being touted as the crypto savant, the brilliant young crypto guy. Brutal. Intercept Press put this out. Sam Bankman, SBF trial vlog, midday, October 11th. The 100 million FTX bribery of Chinese government officials over Sam Bankman-Fried's lawyers' objections. Now, look, apparently, and Truth Labs confirmed this weeks and months ago about Huobi and OKX being in bed and being tied to the CCP. Okay? Again, I say this all the time. If you're doing something out of that country, that nation, you don't own that. Huobi people don't own that exchange. Like, come on already. They don't own the exchange. The CCP owns it. It's just, like, I don't know how to say it any plainer. Again, I ask you to look into Jack Ma and what happened to that dude. Jack Ma, Jackma. Look what happened to this guy who built this thing. Look what happened to him. I mean, they will literally oust you and take all your stuff, and it's brutal over there. So to think that you're going to somehow, now apparently this $100 million bribe to these officials was to free up the $1 billion that they had on these exchanges, OKX and Huobi. Apparently that's the reason for this bribe. But take a listen to this.
Here we are, Matthew O'Sullivan, Intercept Press, here during a break in the Sam Bankman-Fried trial, and it's been a doozy. It's been a doozy. Carolyn Ellison on the stand today, October 11th, and it finally got into the Chinese bribes. Now, this is a count that the Bahamas has put on ice, said that they didn't agree to it when he was extradited. And it seems like the count might go away, except that it was brought in today to show motive, method, knowledge, and here essentially is what it consists of. $1 million of net FTX's investment capital was frozen in China as part of a money laundering investigation. They wanted to get it out.
Now, let me read that. Let me play that again, because he's saying $1 million. It wasn't $1 million. It was $1 billion. From what I understand.
Laundering investigation. $1 million of net FTX's investment capital was frozen in China as part of a money laundering investigation. They wanted to get it out. There was a guy called Mr. Ma, working for FTX.
Right, because that doesn't make sense to offer someone $100 million to get $1 million back. So it was actually, I believe, please correct me in the comments if you know for sure, but I believe it was $1 billion locked up there.
He tried to get a lawyer over there. They tried to get a lawyer over there. It didn't work. Mr. Ma had another solution, and the solution ended up involving bribes to Chinese government officials to the tune of $100 million through accounts in the name of Thai prostitutes. Yes, it's true. This case has it all. So there were multiple objections by Bankman-Fried's counsel, Mr. Mark Cohen, and Judge Kaplan agreed to a number of them, but then came back with a curative instruction or a limiting instruction that these were not being offered for the proof. Now, what's interesting is that mentioned more than once during Ms. Ellison's Chinese bribery testimony was Sam Trabucco, her co-CEO at Alameda. Trabucco saying, did Handy, another employee, did Handy's father turn us in over there in China? And SBF responding law. So Trabucco was absolutely involved in this alleged violation of the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. So those wondering, where is Mr. Trabucco? This is a charge that the Bahamas can't make go away. An American citizen was today named in federal court with the knowledge of the SDNY prosecutors as having been involved in a Foreign Corrupt Practices Act violation with China involving $100 million of bribery money. So the question is, what happens next? Well, we're here, innercitypress.com. We've pointed out similar.
Look, I like this already. First of all, innercitypress.com. Oh, what's good, baby? Inner City Press. You know this street kid from Brooklyn loving that. So it's innercitypress.com. But it's a crypto guy as well. This looks like a generational wealth mastermind interview right here. Oh, but American citizen, again, you know, sacrificing their country for personal profits. It's brutal. Now, you heard this name Ma, you heard this term Handy. We're going to go with that. Truth Labs exposes who these people are. And I'm telling you, you ever heard of the phrase, it's not a good look? Not a good look, family. Not a good look. Let me see if I can't expound on this a little bit more here. Because Truth Labs was on some stuff. It's on some stuff. Now, Mr. Huber put this out. He learned it from the big boys. He's talking about JP Morgan. JP Morgan, Mr. SBF learned this stuff from JP Morgan. Anyway, he learned it from the big boys. In the United States, this is actually considered a Patriot Act. But remember to always delete the Excel file containing your bribe accounting. So JP Morgan way back in 2018, 16, I can't really read what that says there. This is what happened. Inside JP Morgan, they called it the Sons and Daughters Program. Authorities now describe it as corruption, plain and simple. JP Morgan was doing this. This Jamie Dimon guy. I cannot believe that a crypto person actually said that Jamie Dimon was a champion of blockchain. I'm just in utter shock that they would mention Jamie Dimon in the same sentence as a champion of blockchain. Disgusting. JP Morgan engaged in a systemic bribery scheme. By hiring children of government officials who were typically unqualified for this position on their own merit, says Andrew, whatever, director of the SEC's Enforcement Division. The program included spreadsheets that tracked how offering the hirees turned into future business deals. Remember, this is corruption, plain and simple. Corruption, plain and simple. And it's very important to recognize the fact that only officials from other countries are bribed. This is Mr. Huber poking fun at, or making a point to Charles Hoskinson. There is and was never any bribery in the United States, and more important, never at the SEC. Claiming SEC officials were bribed is absurd. Convinced with money, yes, probably. So Hoskinson twisted his words and used the phrase convinced with money as opposed to bribery. It is a very, very brutal thing. Let me see. Where is the thing that I want to share with you guys? Just to read. Because there is some stuff from Truth Labs that I think is really, really important that I want to share. I gotta make sure I find the right thing here. So Stephen Narias put this out. Curious, when I told Vitalik Buterin, because remember, this Stephen Narias guy, early days of Ethereum. When I told Vitalik in early 2015 to immediately put all the best programmers and build, why did he choose to instead leave for the next couple of years to China to work for a Chinese company? Truth Labs has this point. I think this is important. I'm going to highlight this. Early 2015, consensus in Ethereum. Stephen Narias raises an interesting question. Why did Vitalik choose to go to China and work for a Chinese company for 2 years? The Ethereum founder was living in China before the Genesis block of Ethereum, as well as throughout the first year of Ethereum going live. This video footage and tapes of him walking around with other people from that nation. And they essentially, what's the word I want to use? Did a little mind screwing on this young dude who was desperate for capital with this idea. With this brilliant idea that he got from sleeping on the couch, Stefan Thomas, formerly of Ripple. Say what you will about that. The Ethereum founder was living in China when before the Genesis block of Ethereum, as well as throughout the first year of Ethereum going live. Do you believe me now, says Truth Labs, when I say Ethereum is backed by the CCP and has always had a centralized share of Ethereum's total supply? This is not going to go away. And the question is going to be, what are we going to do about it? How much has the CCP affected the bodies that can do something about this? Because we have to rid ourselves of the infiltration. We got to get rid of the infiltration. So the question then remains, how much of this infiltration is in the United States government agencies and Congress? This is from Truth Labs, Propaganda 3.0. When Vitalik needed money to make his vision for Ethereum, this is what I said, come true, he found his money in China through CCP affiliated entities. They've been involved since the pre-block zero. I know I shared this on the on my video a day or so ago, but it's important to understand. Greater than 66% of all ETH tokens mined pre-merge on Ethereum ended up in wallets owned by entities backed by the China CCP Inc., the Ethereum Foundation. It is what it is. Again, my heart really, really goes out to retail investors, to projects who love and building on Ethereum and love what they can do there, because they get screwed. They get screwed by this. They're innocent. Certainly most of them are innocent in this kind of nastiness. I'm going to end this with this post here from M. Cryptodamus. I think it's important to understand, to get a great narrative of what's going on in the Sam Bankman-Fried case. Things I learned from Caroline Ellison's testimonial that CoinDesk declined to mention a thread. The $1 billion that Sam Bankman-Fried had to bribe Chinese officials to give back. See, it was $1 billion. Doesn't make sense to bribe someone with $100 million. You're trying to only get $1 million, right? The $1 billion that SBF had to bribe Chinese officials to give back was held on Huobi and OKX. And again, say if I said it once, I said it 1,000 times. If you're building something out in China, you don't own it, baby. You don't. If you're Chinese and building something in this country, that's a different thing. But no, you don't own it. if you're building it in China. He says that bribe was 150 million. Multiple people at FTX and Alameda had ties to the Chinese government. One of those people thought the bribe was a bad idea and quit shortly thereafter. The other guy was the guy who suggested the bribe. And again, look, they got $1 billion, and all of a sudden, the CCP, whatever government you want to call it, says, wait a minute, where's this money coming from that you got on this exchange? You see what I'm saying? Where's that all coming from? We're going to freeze that thing tied up. We're going to call it, we're looking into some kind of money laundering deal. Anyway, in the official spreadsheet, this bribe was listed under the line item of the thing, $150 million. Before resorting to bribing the government of China directly, they had the bright idea to bribe some Thai prostitutes to let them use their IDs to open up accounts on Huobi and OKX. They then attempted to trade poorly against these accounts to transfer funds out. The balance sheet that CoinDesk and Mike Bursberg from Dirty Bubble Media reported on that blew up FTX was actually a deep fake that understated liabilities like $4 to $6 billion. Back to the thing, Alameda FTX employee who suggested the bribe was named David Ma. There's a Jack Ma, and there's a David Ma who suggested the bribe. The employee who thought it was a bad idea and quit was named Handy. When asked to explain to the court who exactly Ryan Salome was, Caroline Ellison referred to him as an employee of XCX. On paper, Ryan was the co-CEO. The prosecutor says, was that bribe approved by the legal department of FTX? Caroline Ellison said no, was not approved by the legal department. Given that bribery was not among the charges, I believe the defense insisted it be referred to in more neutral language as like a payment or something. Courtroom drama is real, and when Caroline Ellison broke down crying, discussing the final days of FTX and her relief at not having to lie anymore was one for the record books. The jury will not forget that. One of the ways SBF planned to close the hole in FTX and Alameda's books was to get regulators to close down Binance. At which point FTX would get all the customers and make $1 bazillion. We remember that. Remember that they went after FTX, Binance? You remember that? They tried to do that. CZ was too quick for them, but they did try to do it. Listen to this. This was on a list of strategies they drew up in an executive meeting. A little side note, this is what is going on in the Celsius Chapter 11 bankruptcy in court, where they're trying to bring out the more than likely fact that FTX, in all of its desperate mode, in addition to going after Binance funds, was trying to bankrupt Celsius to get their customers and funds. It's amazing that the UCC is fighting this, and the UCC is supposed to be representing us. It's amazing, but that's a side note. But again, I want to point this out. This strategy to take down Binance so that they could get their customers and make $1 bazillion was on a list of strategies, plural, that they drew up in an executive meeting. Most internal discussions among FTX and Alameda about finances were done in Signal with auto-delete turned on. But they made sure to use non-deleting Slack messages to talk about their philanthropic endeavors. Well, how about that? When FTX first moved to the Bahamas, SBF and Caroline both had luxury vehicles. SBF decided they should go get a Toyota Corolla and a Honda Civic for the optics. For the optics. It makes you sick. It really does make you sick. There was a crypto hedge fund called Modula that SBF insisted on investing customer funds in that Caroline thought was a bad idea. This hedge fund was sent $50 million worth of FTX access, in other words, customer funds, via a transfer on SBNY's Signet network. Never heard of it. In a moment, many people who have dated narcissistic sociopaths will probably relate to SBF attempted to blame Caroline Ellison for the financial straits FTX was in because she had not hedged the NASDAQ enough. So of course, she's going to try and blame it on her. So Caroline thought this whole idea with this hedge fund was a bad idea. Sam went and did it anyway on this SBNY Signet network. Not mentioned at the time, but definitely mentioned in the courtroom was the fact that SBF had YOLO'd, aped most of the FTX customer money onto insanely risky investments well before he left Caroline in charge of a burning building with a cheery good luck. All of Caroline's tweets about we're willing to buy all that FTT at $22, et cetera, were actually first drafted by SBF. The fraud team, in parentheses, SBF, Ellison, Singh, and Wang, they sounded too much like SBF's tone of voice, so they decided she would rewrite them. FTX intentionally kept his customers' funds off his balance sheet so that the auditor was not able to assess the situation correctly. This is how FTX scammed its way into a successful audit. He goes on to add here, he or she goes on to add here. Remind you of anyone? Binance US doesn't bother to do the accounting for its customers' money. All of those assets are kept off balance sheets as if Binance were a custodial trust. Alameda burned his final deep toke of FTX customers' money on defending the $22 mark for FTT. So they were caught in a position and they have to try to, defend it, trading it wise. Roughly 100 million was incinerated in this obviously futile endeavor in the final day before the collapse. This is some brutal stuff. I'm not going to keep on reading. Maybe I'll do a live stream. I'll read some more of this, but it is really, really, really brutal. Absolutely brutal stuff, guys. I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm not going to get into it any longer, but maybe in the live stream, I'll cover some more. Again, this is happening in the US, and a group of people decided to do something that they're not allowed to do, use customer funds, and they did it. And anyway, a lot of people got harmed, and unfortunately, a lot of people take their lives because of things like this. I know for a fact it happened in the Celsius case, where people took their lives. And people came on live streams, and not live streams, but Twitter spaces right at their brink of wanting to take their life. It's a very, very, very sad thing. Very, very, very sad thing. So this is, again, in the US, under Gary Gensler's watch, and I'm asking the question, who is going to make this guy, Gary Gensler, accountable for this madness? Madness. I don't know which is going to end up being a bigger story. Is it going to be the ETH gate? Is it going to be Sam Bankman fraud? I don't know. Which one is going to make Netflix or a documentary? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. My guess is ETHgate, but you know, it's a lot of publicity right now on SBF, and there's none on ETHgate. Not yet. All right, guys, listen, this wraps up the XRP Ripple Daily News in around 0 to 10 minutes. I hope it has been of value to you. If it has, do me a favor, hit that like button. And if you've been hanging out watching the Crypto Siege and you enjoyed that hangout, please consider subscribing to the channel. Hey, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so that you know whenever we go live or whenever we upload a video. I'm going to end this one like I do all of my videos and remind you guys of this, that old money doesn't want you to win. But that's okay, though, because you and I, we're already winning. Ha ha! I'll talk to you soon, guys. See ya.